welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. As always, I am Boser, and this is a special episode of Cloudscape where we're going to hit the pause button on the campaign and just take a moment to reflect on what the hell has happened in the last 8 episodes. And we've got a few of our players here at the table to give some insight into their characters, geek out about this amazing story that we're writing together. Hi guys, how you doing tonight?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm here.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about the episode so far.
I know I've wanted to do this for a while, and if you didn't know, we kind of already do this every week on Twitch in the chat while we're playing back the episode. We treat it like a little bit of a watch party, and we're in the chat geeking out with each other, making fun of ourselves, and like, oh yeah, forgot it, this happened. So now this is going to be interesting to see if we can remember what's going on in the last 8 episodes.
You know what I actually love so much about the rewatch party are the moments that I laugh the same time I laugh.
Yes!
And like it makes me laugh even harder.
Like, yes, comedy gold.
Like the last episode invoking Waylon's right-hand man to make him break that phone at first. It's just like a silly bit, but I laughed just as hard.
My favorite is watching everyone's faces because like when it's all going on, I'm watching the person who's talking, but like when we come back to it, I'm like watching your face and watching Theo's face, and it's just like getting a glimpse of what else is happening during the session, because I normally don't get that when I'm playing the game. So
Yeah, because you're so kind of zoned in to either the player you're talking to or to me. I do the same. Like I just stare at you if I'm talking to Kit, but there's so much gold happening all the way around.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm sure there's plenty of times where I'm just like,
or when like a big piece of information is dropped and you're in the moment, so you're like taking it in. But so between Austin and Josh's faces, you're the two that I go to most because it's just gold. Where Austin is just like, and you're like. Like you make it big, and it's just fun to watch. And I think that's my favorite part about the watch party is being able to do that.
Yeah. Well, before we get too far into this skydive instead of a deep dive, thank you, Josh, for that. If somebody's using today's episode as a way to just like quickly catch up and get to know what's going on, will each of you, starting with Kit, tell us a little bit about who you are, first of all, who your character's playing, and then a little bit about them.
Okay, so my name's Brit, and I play Kit, who is a middle 20-ish age mechanic who is currently running her family shop after her father disappeared. And the actual first 8 episodes are kind of figuring stuff out. There's apparently a lead on her father, and we're going to figure it out.
Where is Tobias Pfeiffer? But I think you might have a little skin in that game, Josh.
I sure do. My name is Josh. I play Sirkin Sirocco, who is a mafia torturer, essentially. I mean, he's a man who lives by his own code, and he has decided that he's going to shape the world the way he sees it.
Not a big bad in the making at all.
No!
Oh.
He's an interrogator, okay? You gotta use the correct.
The point is, I ask questions. You know, I'm a knowledge seeker.
Yeah. And Big Bird taught us that it's no harm in asking questions.
I know we already went past Kit, but so when we talk about Fate Core, we're talking about our aspects. I don't know if we want to touch on any of those.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think it's kind of interesting the way they've shaped how the characters have turned out. Because when we built these characters, I mean, I had no idea where I was going to be at the end of episode 8.
Right.
But
none of us did.
Right. But like I have certain the aspects for my character. I have scholarly aspirations, and that's just been a big thing that has accidentally shaped the weird pseudo intellectual side of Circuit.
Mm-hmm. Kit, what would you say? Going back to you for a second. Sorry, Lucas. What would you say is like the number one aspect that you've used more often in the game so far?
My bark is bigger than my bite, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we're figuring out what that means.
Yeah, and I think she's evolved because like when she met this group of ruffians, like she was kind of just like, I don't want this. Like, who are you? Like, she thought it was a one-time thing, like meeting an alley. Okay, we're done. But now she's like exposed to this lifestyle, exposed to how these guys just live the regular life. She's coming out of her shell, I guess. She's gaining a backbone. She's seen the world through different lenses, if that makes sense. And
yeah,
I think she's slowly evolving from who I started her as. And I'm excited to see what the next episodes kind of bring out of her. So.
And Lucas, of all the characters at this skydive, yours is the one we probably know the least about.
What? No.
And that's life getting in the way because you're an army brat now.
Yeah, I'm a busy boy.
You're saving the world, so you're doing important things.
I don't know about all that.
Tell us a little bit about your character.
So yeah, I'm Lucas. I play Alsvid Al Batten. He's kind of the Han Solo type of the group. He like early years Han Solo. He's a lot for himself. He does a lot of jobs for a lot of people, and might rip some people off in the process.
Can I ask how the hell you came up with the name Alsvid?
I had this down at one point. So I was looking at there's a theme with a lot of my characters lately. We'll all look for different languages translations and or like kind of what they are. So like if I remember right, it's Norwegian or something like that.
Oh, okay.
For like speedy.
Nice.
So, like, I was basically looking at names that translated into like fast and stealthy or and of the such.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
I remember when you finally named your character and gave me one, like the night before we started recording.
But
Which I was grateful that at least it was before we recorded.
yeah, so it's old. I knew it was up there. It's Old Norse for very quick.
Old Norse.
Nice.
It does have kind of a Norse tinge to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember you sent me that name and I'm like, is this a typo? You know what? We're going to roll with it and find out later.
Yep. So I've been tending to do that a lot lately, even in like my other campaigns.
But you guys all come from experience playing D&D and other TTRPGs. And for those that have tuned into Cloudscape, you know that we're using Fate Core, which we touched on a little bit with aspects. When originally we were looking for the next campaign after our City of Mist campaign, which was the last one we just did, and I knew that I was going to be GMing, I needed something. I needed a system that was flexible and loosey-goosey because I knew that I wouldn't get every single rule correct. And so I actually asked T, I'm like, hey, what TTRPGs do you know of that kind of can fit this vibe? And he listed off some. And when I found Fate Core, I was like, this is it. Because it really can fit any system, any setting. It can be sci-fi, it can be high fantasy, it can be this weird pseudo-fantasy, futuristic, amalgamous world that we're living in, where Google doesn't exist and neither does TikTok. But it's got some really great rolls. You roll with d6, 4d6 every single time. They have fudge dice, which are interesting because they have pluses and minuses and blanks, and that's it. And then there's kind of certain shifts rather than a certain number you're aiming for. Shifts meaning above or below the goal. But aspects are a big part that you can invoke using fate tokens, and those can either give you a +2 or a reroll on your current roll. And those aspects are tied to like some strong personalities and pieces of your characters. So how did you guys, when you were coming across these characters, when you're starting to build, how did you decide on what you landed on?
I wanted to play something different than what I usually play. As a like I fall into like a caster sort when I play like D&D or I fall into the magic category, and that's kind of where I stick to. And I kind of wanted to play something outside of my I guess realm of playing.
Sure.
And I felt Kit just uses her hands. She doesn't make things appear. She does it herself. And I felt like, but when I heard what everyone else was playing, and I was like, oh no, I'm the only character that isn't in a life of crime. Like, I was like, oh, how am I going to play this? Like, I didn't want to feel like I was splitting the party constantly because I was doing different things, but
though we have yet to succeed on not splitting the party.
But the way it's turned out, it meshes well. And that was my biggest concern. So I like Kit. I like what she does, and I'm happy with her. So
Kit being outside the world of crime, though, does make it instantly made the world of Cloudscape feel bigger, because we had such different views of what life in this city is like.
And you guys all, like, technically everyone kind of was in like this web where you kind of knew each other some way or another. Whereas like Kit knew none of y'all until the alley. So
I think that's so great. I think that's such a great way to have a party together, is have most everyone tangentially connected and having one new person.
Like, outlier.
Yeah.
That was a struggle for me, being this is the first time that I've ever GM'd an entire campaign, a homebrew at that. Finding a connection and a reason that you guys would continue to work together. Because like you said earlier, Brit, when you met in the alley and you're like, I thought that was a one-time thing. And I'm like, oh my God, this feels like a one-time thing. There's no reason for this to connect. Yeah. Except for some things that we'll get into. Josh, how did you create or why did you create Sirkin?
I mean, is why the question?
Why?
Why is definitely
yeah, that's a big question. Why did you create such a demented soul?
Why are you so good at portraying him?
Is your family okay?
Is there something behind all those Stephen King books?
No.
I've never seen them on camera, so do they really exist?
Damn, Ma, what are you looking so dressed up for?
Episode 8, go check it out.
Episode 8. I usually play very over the top comedic characters.
Really?
Yeah. And so this is like
It's like night and day, boy.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Kit, where I wanted to do something like a little different. So in like the sessions that I would play with my friends, I would always pick like these big over the top personalities. And because I play with a lot of combat focused players in my personal circle, so I always play the big role play character. So I'm high charisma. I'm, typically warlock. I'm slinging spells and talking shit and just having a great time.
Yeah.
And I've on my show, Dairy Public Radio, we have a bonus show where we've been doing audio dramas, and so I'd been playing a more subdued, real character, and I was like, all right, I've liked acting down a little bit, and when I found out about the auditions for this, and you sent the sides, the first thing I found the side, and it was a very heartfelt, emotional, like, speech, like it was a guy coming to apologize about how he left a situation. And I read that, and I sent you guys a message, and I said, hey, do you mind if I twist this a little bit? And you were like, yeah, go for it, whatever.
I'm like, who's this guy? I'm like, hey, T, this guy's already trying to one up our sides. What a douche.
and so I decided that I wanted to perform this very heartfelt apology, and at the end reveal that all it was a mask for vengeance. Like, all this was a manipulation to get to, and we are now going to kill this person. I wanted to see if I could play, like, the subtle, like, that layer. And when I recorded the audition, I was like, all right, if they like this, then let's just see where this takes us. And then you made the mistake of casting me.
The mistake.
And you know, this is where we play your side right now.
Oh God.
Coming in hot.
No, honestly, T and I talk about it all the time, strangely enough, how excited and thrilled we are, the fact that we have such an amazing crew at this table, most of which are brand new to us. And like Brit, we hang out with Let's Get Rollin' plenty, so you are already kind of in the circle, but we've never really sat around a table often. But with Austin, just coming out of nowhere, and we knew him kind of through Cantina 13, but again, we've never sat at a table with him. But he did the homework, and he already, like, knew what aspects he would use, and I was like, oh shit, this guy's gonna know the rules. I need that. Plus, he's an amazing role player. But then Josh, out of the blue, like, we had no idea anybody would even audition. We're like, let's just throw this out there and we'll see if anybody bites. And we were following each other on Instagram, but we hadn't really communicated a lot. And you're like, hey, can I audition? We're like, sure. Are you sure you want to? And it's honestly been one of the best decisions
know what you're getting into?
I think we've ever made, is putting the net out and being able to fold in brand new, amazing talent, and then showcasing not only you guys as role players, but then feeding into your own communities. Let's get rolling. Oh wait, no. Let's get roll. Where am I going to be?
Yep.
Let's get rolling.
Nope.
It's all mirrored. I can't do it. Very public.
What's it doing?
What's your community called, Lucas?
It's just barely a community. I've streamed once this year.
The army.
The army. The army is my community. One day I'll get back to regular streaming.
So how did Allsvid come to be?
The day of.
I mean, okay.
Truthfully,
There are players that drop a character day of. They're like, oh, I made this character, and you're like, today? That's what I do in like a month.
So I don't think I hammered out the aspects for Allsvid, because I had the concept. I had the concept when we were like, oh, we're gonna do this. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the concept. I didn't have the aspects or the sheet or anything filled out till I think that, like, I don't think it was finished until the end of episode 1.
And the cool thing about Fate is that's totally allowed.
Yeah.
A lot of times you might start a Fate campaign with a half sheet because you kind of want to see what happens, and then, oh yeah, that feels like my character. That's now an aspect.
Yeah. So I think
why
I
I
went
didn't
through.
buy.
I think I went through that first little encounter with only 2 aspects. I think I didn't pick a third one yet.
You still haven't?
No. I have.
Okay.
I have a third one now.
I'm like, we're 8 episodes in. You might want one of those.
But no, I typically I am the combat focused person.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, maybe let's play a more rogue-esque. type person, and it didn't go so well for the very first attempt. But that is just gold. Like that was probably like that's gonna go down to be one of my favorite moments, I think. Especially for like a session 1. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was such a like doing that like kind of PvP stuff, especially episode 1 can be such a risky thing, especially for players that don't know each other. But I don't know what it was, but when that scene was happening, the smile, when I saw the smile on both of our faces as we both kind of failed, I was like, all right, we're both here for the story moment. There's not an like we're just letting the dice tell the story and not getting in the way.
It was great because it's like that morning is the first morning you and I have ever interacted. I was like, oh, you're looking a little too good there, bub. Gotta.
And that's on Boser. Boser's the one who's like, well, there is somebody very well dressed.
As soon as he said it too, I was like, oh no, oh no.
Because at that point in the episode, I was like, okay, the scene's been set. We've met each of you in your own specific worlds. Now let's throw you all at each other all at once and just see what happens. And I'm kind of a throw it at the wall and see if it sticks kind of guy. I don't like everything to be super structured and concrete because it doesn't allow for creativity that way. And then your own amazing responses and the dice. So, you said something that triggered a thought, and now that thought is gone. But
is it about what a chaos demon you are?
Oh, the fact that where you mentioned that first episode that we recorded, Josh and Lucas, you guys hadn't really spent that much time communicating. Because I think, Lucas, you couldn't come to session 0.
Yeah, I don't think I was there for session 0, unfortunately.
And so there was kind of a foundation of rapport that maybe you guys were missing. But the thing that I keep hearing is, wow, I can't believe these people are playing for the first time. It feels like a bunch of friends playing together for years.
That's so nice.
And honestly, that is like one of the greatest compliments I think our campaign can ever take away.
Yeah.
Because I feel that. And I don't know why we mesh so freaking well, but all of us mesh so freaking well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh no, I agree.
There's
the camaraderie that we have, like even just watching other people's scenes. It's just like because we're fans of our own, our own stuff.
We are our own biggest fans.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I also like
Alec.
that we can give each other immense amounts of shit. Like the last episode, the length of time to break into the car. Like that whole discussion just kills me.
And I guess as a GM, that part of that balance is on me, because I never want to feel like I'm railroading anybody or like forcing a certain outcome. Like I want the dice to have an effect, because if the dice don't have an effect to me, then we don't need them. We just sit around and tell a story. But since we're playing a TTRPG, I want the tabletop to have an effect. And sometimes when y'all roll bad, then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, this happens, and we're going to spend another 20 minutes on a freaking car.
I mean, but it brings variety. If you were to roll great every time, it's going to create like everything's happy and perfect in my world, and not like, Sirkin crashing his car and bumping his head and causing that whole chaos and comedic scene, and the whole scene between you two where you reach into his pocket and that created a moment. I just feel like if we're constantly rolling great, or there's like great rolls, there's no comedic part. There's no bad things that happen that cause us to role play. Because I don't know about you guys, like my goal is like to tell a great story. And I know like when you guys sit and talk and play off me, that despite those roles, we create a great moment.
Kit, do you have a favorite bad roll?
Oh,
Since we've shared our favorite bad roll.
Oh, there's been lots of them. I'm trying to think what was the worst one. Oh,
I think the role that I remember that was really bad for you, that I was like, damn, that sucks, was when in episode 7, Regal Ransack, when you were searching the apartment.
For anything for Nan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You rolled a
It was a 0.
A 0.
It was a 0. But honestly, I think if I had rolled anything great, I would have, like, my character would have done something totally different, and it would not have led to the boys coming to the apartment.
That's
Imagine if she had read that message alone.
I would have gone looking.
Yeah,
Personally, if I
spitting
had
on me
rolled,
and punching me would be the least of what she.
yeah, because I had the revolver or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
So in my, you know how Theo kept saying to me, like, don't act on your emotions, don't act on your emotions. It could have been much worse, or it could have gone a totally different route. Do you think I would have been able to find Sirkin? Maybe, but you know, rolling bad led to a whole great storyline where we came together and eventually met up at the apartment. So I think rolling bad isn't always a bad thing.
I always come back to a quote, and I don't know if she quoted it first or she heard it from somewhere else, but Bria Iyengar said that when you roll in like D&D or any TTRPG, it's when basically destiny and a decision come to a crossroads. And like that's where I think it's really important to let the dice tell the story, because I think in this big universal muck that we're in, that kind of has a tie. It has a reason that you rolled poorly. It's fate.
I do like that in this system, your characters are fairly squishy. Like we've played pretty reckless with the lives of our characters at points, because it's very easy to die in this game.
Last episode when you walked up to that security booth and were just like, boom, like, bye, sucker. Like,
yup.
That could have gone bad real fast.
Ooh, I was like 1 or 2 bad rolls away from that situation going 100% different.
But I also like how this system lets us back off from a fight like it would be in real life. Whereas, you know, like something like D&D, you're in the fight, you try to retreat, that thing's coming after you. Or, which is not kind of like real life, where like, if I'm in a bad situation, I can get myself out, hopefully. Which I feel like helps with the role playing.
Yeah, that's why we chose this system, because when we started a new campaign, we wanted storytellers and a system that allowed for storytelling above all else.
I don't know why I'm here.
No, I don't either.
Oh, that's why I'm part-time.
No, but having your character a little squishier, at least in the backstory, has actually been beneficial for me, because with you sometimes needing to dip out, come back in, which happens, and that's why we have a larger table, so it's easier for that to happen. We can kind of mold your story to fit into whatever it needs to in order for you to stay relevant.
And I think that was also part of the goal when I was making Al. That way I had easy outs for currying purposes.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, that was
intentional.
Yeah, it was intentional. We got to talk about other instances later on.
Okay. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. Episode 1, and this is just for me personally, because I haven't asked any of you this kinds of things, but when we were originally like painting the world of Aurora, the city here in the Cloudscape, the map that doesn't exist yet.
Waiting.
What were some thoughts? Like, how did you feel? What excited you? What was interesting?
Honestly, I was so nervous about my first scene. I was so nervous about where you did such a great job of giving us the setting, giving us the very basics of the world, which, Boser, I also want to commend you on your ability to world build by yes-anding the things that we just throw out in conversation, and you just make them part of the world. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So having that room to build the world, I was so nervous. And then my introduction is walking into a bookstore, and I was like, all right, let's do this.
And you decided that it was a bookstore.
Well,
I said, where would we find Circuit? You're like,
Yeah.
Scholarly Aspirations, probably.
yeah, probably a bookstore. But like, I wasn't sure what to expect, you
Mhm.
know? And then getting my book on brains, which I've throughout the campaign so far, I continually drop little brain information because I have the book.
Did
then
you
getting
Google these things, or did you already know?
Yeah,
Google doesn't exist.
Yeah, when you when I got the book on brains during that first session, I think I quickly Googled like 5 facts about the brain, and I have a post-it here somewhere
No way.
that I think has them. Oh yeah, these are my brain facts. I can't focus it because then you'll be able to see what I haven't mentioned yet.
Oh,
But-
okay.
I have the brain is not fully formed until 25, which is what I said to Alsvid. And then the joke about the brain weighing 3 pounds that I said to Haven.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How much
those
do
just
you use?
little facts that I threw out there.
That's funny.
Yeah, and then of course the infamous breaking of the finger to really set the tone for who Sirkin is.
That set the fucking tone.
Yeah. Because again, I missed session 0. Come into session 1, and then I find out I have to try to pickpocket you. Well, I don't have to, but I have to.
It was, but I really appreciated the accidental gift you gave me by having that second book be something he found, because I would have had no reason to do anything to him if he weren't guilty of something.
Oh yeah, that handwritten book,
Mm-hmm.
My Journeys. Right?
Yeah.
That the shopkeeper said he found it, and now he sold it to you, and you turned that back on him.
I threw that back at you so fast.
Honestly, it was in that moment that I'm like, oh shit, I've got to be smarter than I am. Working with that.
I will say, interacting with this table, we're a pretty quick bunch.
That is true.
It's daunting, honestly.
I'm not. I'm like there's this pause in my head of what I'm gonna do next. And I'm like, this is
Okay.
a very long 10-minute awkward silence, isn't it? I'm making this awkward.
But again, that could also be beneficial towards like your character though.
Yeah.
It's true.
But like I will say, yeah, you and I probably aren't at the quickest.
No. I come from a background where it's very combat heavy. Like, we play D&D, and we thanks to Boser and T, we've started reaching out to other TTRPGs because we've seen how great they are. But we're very combat heavy, like in the things that we've played. So role playing was secondary. So coming here and role playing has broken me out of my shell. And since I've started here, I've played at least 4 other characters outside of my realm. And it's kind of just, I am no longer in that caster shell. Like, I've branched out, and I won't lie, I attribute it to this campaign because
Awesome.
so I've
No, I love tuning into your Let's Get Rolling campaign and hearing. I think I said your voice sounds like a creepy Uncle Dumbledore. Your
I
other
won't-
character.
I won't lie, I based that off of Haven because your voices inspire me. Your voices inspire me, and I was like, I'm gonna give this character a voice. I'm gonna give this character a voice because I never do. I never give characters a voice because then I can't keep it. And I was like, how does Boser do it? How does he remember, Tabitha's voice and then switch to Haven's voice and, Nan's voice? I was like, how does he keep them straight in his head? Because I forget week to week, like, how I would do that voice.
Honestly, you'll notice that it's only like key NPCs or NPCs that I feel like are going to keep coming back. Then for me, it helps them to have a voice because then it colors their personality.
Oh yeah.
And then I can instantly kind of pop into their mindset. But like the randos on the street, they got nothing.
Well, it helps. Your background definitely helps.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's kind of your
fun
job.
for
No
me.
big deal.
And honestly, as GMing, that was one of my favorite things that I was looking forward to. Was like, oh, I can't wait to do all these fun voices and seeing, like, pushing myself as a voice actor.
When we decided that you were gonna GM, I was like, oh, this is he's gonna do great. He's gonna do fine with all the world building, all the character aspects. I was worried about the rules, and then we landed on this, and because
what rules?
We landed on Fate, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be right up his alley. This is gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
Well, good.
I'm not a rules. Okay, so like
Rule
playing
cool,
something
baby.
like D&D is very rule heavy, and to try to remember them all and what you've got to roll and stuff was always my downfall. Playing something like this, and it's loosey goosey, but there's like a
There's
a center.
structure.
Yeah, there's a structure to it where it's instead of like, hey, roll a d20 plus this plus this plus this because you're doing this, and you're like, okay, how did we get here? It's rather like, hey, roll your crafts, and like I have a +4, so like I just rolled 2d6 and add, because I'm horrible at math, so being able to
Same.
roll and it just, well, I use digital dice, unlike everyone else.
Ooh.
But I would be able to do it had I have physical dice, compared to something like D&D where you're like, okay, there's a modifier plus this plus this plus this. So,
What is that, Lucas?
Dice
It's
tray.
I printed this on my wonderful 3D printer.
That's so nice.
Oh.
I need one, please.
I have the files. I got to get it back up and running, but I plan on printing for the new campaign I'm playing, because I am also stepping out more. I played a barbarian warlock for 3 years, so
Wow, that's a really long time.
we're starting this new campaign. I'm playing a cleric for the first time. I'm playing
Nice.
more of a face character this time.
Hell yeah.
So,
Nice.
but I plan on creating 3D printed dice holders for my whole group.
That's so nice.
I have a bow, a dagger, sword.
so cool.
I'm gonna try and make like the Devouty sensor. It's gonna be a
gotta
lot of
make-
cool stuff, hopefully.
You got to make these. It's dice timeouts.
I do. I'm so
That's
upset, guys. Just to throw a tangent out there, I bought a new set of dice for this campaign because I do it for every new character, right? And I'm playing a Twilight Cleric, so I got liquid core dice.
Nice.
And it's like stars and cool looking. And
That's
I'm like,
cool.
all right, cool. I rolled 7 nat 1s in our first session. And I was
And you're like, trash.
I was like,
In the trash.
I'm using these all this campaign.
Does the liquid core affect it? Like, if you salt test
So-
them, will they?
Yeah, so we tested it because we after the session, after one shot we did, we tested it, and no, they're balanced. I just had really bad luck with these dice.
Just trash rolls, man.
I was so upset.
Oh,
But then you just use it to build the character.
It'd be a good time.
Yes, and your bad rolls.
So speaking of bad rolls, and changing things on the fly, we've gotten some great questions from the audience. All of our communities kind of pooled together a little bit in our Discord and then also on our Instagrams. But we got one good question multiple good questions, but focusing on this one from Farles Barkley, everyone's favorite Farles. He said, let me get to it. How hard is it to pivot for uses of fate points? because early on in episode 2, after we met the perpetrator that blew out the window and escaped from the Institute of Progress, and you guys cornered this person in the alley, like in my mind, this is a terrorist. You're all gonna fight them, and we're gonna have a reason to come together because you went through something together. And then Josh used a fate point, which you get 3 an episode. Your normal base pool is 3, and you use those to invoke your aspects, but also you can use one to create a story detail as long as the GM and the other players agree on it. And Josh, what did you use your fate point to do?
I used my fate point to create the story aspect that Liana was Theo's goddaughter because of his excessively high roll.
Yeah, he rolled very well on connection, so he's like, yeah, you know this person. And you're like, actually, I know, you know him so well, this person's your goddaughter. And I saw, fuck, they're not going to fight this person now. What do we do? But for me, I had to pivot, and this kind of goes into another question, Farles, on how much ahead do I plan each episode? Is it loose? Is it structured? Especially in this kind of campaign, when you can use fate points to completely create some, like almost a pillar. Like that was becoming now a pillar of the story. Like it has to be loose. It has to be just, like I go into each episode thinking, okay, here's some possible things if they go this direction. Maybe some like tent poles is essentially how I have to build it. And then you guys run through and kick all the tent poles down.
Oh no.
But no,
it's broken.
Yeah. But then it creates almost like a separate timeline that's even better than anything I could have come up alone, because we're doing it together as a table.
Like last episode when I was like, I'm spending a fate point for the key to drop from the visor
So
because I
grateful.
couldn't see Alsvid struggle anymore.
It was so funny.
Yeah,
Like,
again, talk
yeah.
about the guy. I am the master at that, and I rolled so bad.
I was like,
that is
I
my
can't
top,
struggle
my
anymore.
top thing, my top skill,
Is what? What is your top skill?
burglary.
Yeah. And you couldn't even get this car started. So I was really grateful for that. The fact you made the key there. I was like, thank God.
I was like, I can't see this
I don't have
struggle
fate
anymore.
points to spend.
It's so hard sometimes because as players we're not used to having so much power.
Mhm.
So we sometimes forget that we do have the ability to Deus Ex Machina a little bit within reason.
I think also I like how Boser lets us help create
Mhm.
the world.
Yeah.
Whereas, like in so many campaigns I've been in, and this is not to talk bad about my DMs because my DM's my husband. You go into this world that's already pre-structured. Like the NPCs have names, and places have names, and where you're going or what you're doing is kind of a little bit pre-planned, and you're kind of like what is it?
Railroaded?
Funneled, yeah, funneled or railroaded.
Railroaded
like-
when we do it.
Mhm.
When he does it, it's funneled.
Into
Yeah.
like fighting something
Mhm.
or going on this specific adventure, where here it's just like, what do you guys want to do today, like kind of stuff. And I love that that's the journey we're on. So Boser,
And
thank
I
you
love
for
that
rolling
I've
with the
deceived you into
punches.
thinking that's how it's working.
Actually,
I said I
does
love that
feel
I've
like a
deceived
sandbox.
you.
it's funny.
And I hope it's not too sandboxy, because sometimes it's
Mm-mm.
it can get
No.
too sandboxy where things are too big and you're like, I have no.
No,
But
it's too
to
many
that point,
decisions.
it's interesting that you think that I'm letting you. Do you guys hear me? Am I like
Yeah.
super delayed?
A little
No.
delayed.
you were a little fuzzy, but
Okay.
not crazy.
Going down.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
There was like 10 whole seconds where we were all talking over each other. And I was like, I don't think they can hear me now. Cut that out. But it's interesting that you think that I'm that loosey-goosey, because to me, I feel like I have these structures in my mind, and I guess what you don't know is some of these NPCs that you're running into, I have already created. Not every NPC, but like the Arch Luminaries, they've all existed from the beginning. Nayan has existed from the beginning, but that was because of your backstory. Haven, the Golds.
Actually, you know what? I got a question for you, because I think when we gave you backstories, so part of Kieran Gold, like that's, I think you named him Kieran. I think I just said the Golds in my like backstory when I sent it. So that was also cool to see how I just said the Gold family and you fleshed so much of that out, which is so cool. And the addition of Haven is a completely you creation. Haven was never involved in anything. So like it was really cool to build that, like the give and take of that world of crime we created. And I don't know, it's just cool to like roll with a wholly new, you being able to bring a wholly new character into that backstory that was so easy to weave into that.
Yeah, and do you remember the Golds weren't either of our idea? Or maybe it was, but it was in a world building stream. It was like on a Thursday or some random day where I was just going live. I was planning some world building, and I was like, guys, come to the chat and help me. And so people showed up, and I was like, we need like a crime family. And I don't know if I know you popped in there, Josh, but I don't know if it was your suggestion or somebody else's, but I was like, okay, what's their name? And they're like, Gold, because they like money.
That was me.
Okay. So I guess the Golds was your creation.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting that it was almost like community built, and now it's like a major plot structure into Cloudscape. And I just love that. I love it so much. It's like it's like it doesn't belong to any of us. It belongs to all of us.
Well, and that being said, so like again, I missed Season 0, I missed Season 2. Realistically,
4 and
like
7 and
but the fact that he spent a fate point to make that the goddaughter, I totally would have. My first instinct, if I was at Session 2, would be to try to smuggle that person away from the whole party in some form of maybe trying to get some compensation, or
like using them as a
blackmail Theo. Are we getting a secret motivation here?
Well, no, just my first instinct, probably like if I was to run up, I'd be like, all right, look, I'll get you out of here, but you're going to owe me big. And then that would have brought me again full circle back around to Theo after learning some things.
Interesting.
So it's very interesting how these like the story would have gone, because if that wasn't a person, if that didn't become his goddaughter, who knows that that person could have been someone else.
It's fate.
Would I have hit Nan in the leg with a pint? Well, Lord only knows.
Speaking of Nan, let's just talk about Nan for a moment. If you were to describe your feelings about Nan in one word, on the count of 3, I'm going to point and you say it.
Got it.
1, 2, 3.
Admirable.
Spongy.
Who?
You've never met Nan, have you?
No.
That's
only
so
know
funny.
of Nan.
There's so much pressure on the first time you meet Nan now. The community is going to be watching for this.
And
Watch, Al's gonna be the one to find Nan.
Oh, shit.
Like, who are you? He's not gonna even know to save her.
Right. And I'll throw this in there. You are a very like gentle, like out of this like crime world person, and one of my aspects is looking out for the little guy, and you're just trying to survive. So that's the motivation, though. Like, hey, I'll be looking, and I'll be doing this out of the kindness of my heart because I'm Robin Hood.
Yeah, can I ask
And I might
you-
need some things fixed
Can
eventually.
I ask you an Al-related question?
Yeah.
What does it take to get Al's investment in something? Like what? Because he's very, very aloof. He tries to keep his hands clean so that he can kind of get his hand in every pie. Like, or do you know Al's like, this is too far? I'd go to bat for this.
Oh. I
Shot
think
man.
there's like I play out like very like neutral,
Mhm.
and I want to get into everything, like you said. But I think that when it comes to like major like controlling of certain areas, or like big government like taking over, like really like bearing down, it's that, hey, empire's coming, you can only do so much to skirt around this. Eventually you're gonna have to like push and pick that side. And I think with certain discoveries, Al is more and more coming and picking and choosing certain sides to stay on. So if the empire comes, if I can just to leave it as vague as possible, it'll be a switching point.
Yeah, because I don't think I know what side you would pick right now. I really don't.
Oh, I'm gonna play everybody as much as I can.
You're gonna end up being the big bad.
I understand that
adjacent.
as Al's motivation, essentially, like boiling it down to freedom. Freedom is what Al is entirely about. So I like that any threat to individualism and freedom like really gets under his skin. I think that's cool.
Oh yeah.
Individualism, freedom. How to get Lucas to get invested.
How to get Lucas to show
I know.
up.
You know what question I am excited to find the answer to is the psychic monster.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that looks like some freedom being taken away.
Yeah. It definitely. If you look, I think if you look back, that like really shook me, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
no. Oh no.
I
It was clear
excited
that
at
was a big
moment.
pivot.
I saw it in all of you. And we're
Yeah.
talking about episode 7, Regal Ransack, when the Sigurd's Reach was doing a run on the Royal Storehouse with the help in league with the Gold family, who have hooked him up with some special resources, one of which being a secret weapon that even Sigurd's Reach didn't know it was in the back of the truck until they open it. And this X-powered super telekinetic being came floating out of the truck and utterly ripped through the light guard. I was excited at that moment because I could see it in your faces. Some of you were like, oh shit, X can do what now? But then also, oh shit, Golds can do what now?
Mhm.
And I was
Well,
like, okay.
It even like that whole episode, you can see where I'm trying to play that fine line in Sigurd's Reach, and I was like, I don't think I can mess with them too much anymore, and that creates that connection with Waylon.
So what was all your thoughts when you first met that X-powered mutation?
Well, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier about our characters being squishy, one of the things that makes more real is, unlike D&D where you have, different varieties of magic monster you're facing, because we're squishy mortal people seeing something that powerful and knowing that if we did decide to take it on right then, that thing would have killed us all 100%. Those stakes become so real so fast, and it was like, all right, we know there are things this dangerous in the world, and now we got to watch our step.
The nice thing about like Fate Core is there's no levels. Like you don't level up to get to like this, like as a D&D character, you level up, you get more spells, you get more these things, and it's not that with Fate Core. it's more evolving as a character, which I feel once, because at milestones we can flip some stuff out, especially when it comes to our stunts. So I feel like as we grow into our character more, we'll figure out what, works for us best. So when we come up against, when we're ready to fight the big bad, I feel like we're in our own when it comes to that. And we'll have stunts kind of fleshed out more because, the ones you start with aren't the ones you end with. Maybe. I guess. I think it depends on the person, but like
depends on the character.
Yeah, and I already know like I've flipped one because like of how much she's evolved already in the first 8 episodes.
What did you flip?
Maybe I haven't. Maybe it's coming.
Oh,
in the
you
next
plan
few
to?
episodes. Yes.
Okay. My bad.
Like, because right now its bite is bigger than my bark, and Kit's finding her voice. And she's no longer just a fight. Like, she's more into using her voice to speak up for herself. So.
And it's interesting that the people that taught you that.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's likely.
One of my favorite early scenes is the meeting at the Hammered Glass.
Yes. Let's talk about that for a second.
I did not. Okay. I half expected Sirkin to be the one I was meeting.
Did you really?
But also I was like, it's not him. It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be him. It's going to be like Kieran or someone big that like, that's, the build up to it. But then when it was him, I was like, okay, let's go. It was a pleasant surprise.
Oh.
Not to my character though.
Yeah. Because a little behind the scenes on that was something that was set up from even session 1.
Yep.
You received an invitation, Kit, or your Nan just received an invitation to meet with somebody. And Josh and I were in on that. He knew that he was meeting somebody, but Sirkin didn't really know who he was supposed to meet, right?
No.
Yeah.
I knew that I was meeting a family member.
Mm-hmm. And so it was so fun to watch your expression when you were there. You were so anxious, and then I said, okay, Sirkin or Josh, who comes in?
And like I was kind of thinking of it in my head. If it's him, I was like, okay, I can do this. I can role play off this. But like, especially because I had already had Kit had already had an interaction with him. She was in his car. Was she in his car? Yeah, she was already in his car.
Episode 1.
So like the fact that like he knew where she lived, all this stuff was like, I think that was the most surprising part. Like, if he already knew where she lived, like, why didn't he just show up at her house to talk to her? And that was the thing. I was like, okay, that it's not him. It's not him. He knows where she lives, all this stuff. And then when he was there, she was like, you son of a bitch. So and that was one of the most, I think that was the first time that Kit really was put up against the forces that would come in the future. I think this is the first time she really saw how bad things could get, in the sense of, oh, there's actually really shitty people out there. Like all these forces out there that because for a while she was like, oh, the world is good, the world is peachy, and then her dad left and she's like, oh, it was just my dad left because my dad left, not because
the world sucks.
The world sucks. So she's starting, like I said earlier, to see the world with new lenses.
Big, like, googly-eyed goggle lenses.
Yeah. These blinders have been on for so long that she's kind of like blocked this out. And it's to me like she lived in a world where she was fixing cars for people.
Mhm.
You wouldn't think that she would have picked up on it, but I believe her dad kind of sheltered her from that. So when he left, that's when the blinders started being taken back.
There was no more protective wall around you.
Yeah. I mean, there was Nan, but she didn't have her hand in the business. So
Just wait till you figure out birds aren't real.
Holy shit. Well, like that scene, one of the things that I think is so great about that scene, and I want to just take a quick second to thank Brit and Lucas, because playing with a character that is as hyper violent as Sirkin, it means like when we have these interactions, I really appreciate the amount of trust that the people I'm in scenes with give me to know that I'm not not crossing that line. Like we'll walk up to it and we'll go for it all day. But like I appreciate that, because that our scene got pretty intense. The having the security guy walk out of the bar, like I wanted to do as much to make Kit feel as small and powerless as possible in that moment. And I appreciate that you recognized that was the goal and you really steered into it and got to you put that exclamation point with the breakdown cry on the way home. It just capped it off so beautifully.
yeah. And I feel like despite us not knowing each other that well, I feel like our characters trust the other person, knowing that we're not going to cross that line of like making our character do something that's unlike our character. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Kit's not gonna walk up to Sirkin and give him a hug. Like, that's just not. That's just at least not like, you know.
Not yet.
Not yet. But who knows? Kit might break him a little. But you know, like, it's not like she's got this ooey gooey center for them right now. You guys have seen, like, she started to trust people, and then she found out that Sirkin was looking for her dad and could be part of why Nan is missing. And so she's started to kind of open up to these people despite their backgrounds and despite what she knew about them. And then information like that was given and she was like, nope, there's no love for these people. But we'll see what happens, because I feel like Kit is the ooey gooey to your stone cold rock. Like, I feel like in this group at least, like Boser has called me the moral compass.
I mean, yeah.
Not just Kit, Brit is our moral compass.
Well, we're breaking your innocence. You're that outside person learning and coming into this like world of crime that goes unseen for the most part, and all of us have our own, you know, stake in this underground, and you're like, what? I had no idea this was a thing, or this was and
well, it's also interesting because Britt, the way you mentioned that, like noticing the world being worse than you ever thought it was. I guess sometimes I forget that Sirkin is maybe a few years older than your dad. Like, so in those intense moments, you're sitting next to somebody who is, at least physically and age-wise, would be like a peer of your father.
Yeah.
And so seeing that how bad an adult the same age as your dad can be makes that reality sink in a little.
And as much as I feel like you guys are starting to rub off on, like, your characters rubbing off on Kit, I feel like Kit might eventually rub off on y'all a little bit too, because I think it goes both ways. I don't think that the bad just seeps into the good. The good can seep into the bad as well.
And you know what's really interesting, and I'm having this memory right now, is when I was first kind of world building, I had in my head this image of a character, before any of you told me who your characters are, just this image of a character of a young girl. She had like some reddish hair, and she was living happily in this world, but then soon discovers that it's not quite what she expected it to be. And on complete accident, you created that character in your own very unique way. It's not exactly,
Yeah.
but I just realized, I'm like, oh my god, that character actually exists in this world.
Yeah.
And it was just like an archetype as I was fleshing out some things. It had this like anime in my mind of Cloudscape.
Yeah.
Oh, I just made a connection that I think would be fun to point out. Because we were talking about how our characters are kind of treat each other.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about how with Sirkin and Kit's relationship is a lot about that kind of respect. There's like a weird respect of boundaries, and like a twisted sense of honesty, I guess. And I realized that the gift, Brit, that you gave me to let Sirkin be able to approach Kit that way was breaking Nan's foot. Because until that point, we hadn't interacted enough. I had nothing to kind of like project a level of respect for this person, and because of who Sirkin is as a person, that's a problem. And so you doing that gave me such a gift to make Kit someone that Sirkin can immediately like, yeah, I like this.
And I won't lie, I left that session after like, you know, Nan is fiction. Nan is like
Ichigo!
But you know what I mean? Like Nan is not one of us playing I mean, yes, it's you playing the character, but also it's like I felt so guilty leaving that table and being like, I just broke an old woman's foot. I just broke an old woman's foot. Like, oh geez, oh gosh, oh golly. Like, and I was like,
Oh golly.
I left and I like walked upstairs and was talking to my husband and I was like, that was an interesting first session. Like, was it first or second that I broke her foot?
That was second.
Second.
Second
Well, I
episode.
left that session. I was like, okay, we're 2 episodes in and I'm already breaking people. Like, and he's like, wasn't that what's supposed to happen? I was like, not my character. I was like, and hearing, because I normally play at the table with my husband, so he hears everything that goes on. So when I come upstairs, he's like, okay, tell me what happened. And I'm like, I can't. You'll have to wait. But you know, like coming out of that and just being like, I just hurt someone, like, because me personally, I am a big empath and like it is my life goal to not inconvenience or hurt other people. So I was like, ugh. So I struggled a lot after that session. I'm just letting you know. Just
But look at what a gift that turned out to be.
Because you've referenced that several times as Sirkin. You keep
Yeah.
coming back to that point. And I guess until right now, I didn't realize how pivotal it was. And really, like, you stomped on her foot, but I had you roll for it. And because the dice decided that you hit her pretty good, then it affected the rest of the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wild. I'm realizing how much the dice have really created this story. It had a huge hand in it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like what you said earlier. There's these tentpole paths. We always knew a meeting was going to happen between Sirkin and someone at the Hammered Glass.
Mm-hmm.
But how we got there, like, there could have been tons of different ways. If that interaction had gone different, the conversation Sirkin and Kit had the tone would have been completely different. It's wild.
And I didn't know if Nan was going to end up going, if you'd go with Nan, if you'd go in her stead. I had a feeling that if you could, you'd go in her stead. But I was ready for any of it.
Yeah.
Well, not ready, but open to it.
Yeah. I wonder how differently that would have gone if I had given Nan the note. Would she have disappeared ultimately?
I don't know. I guess it's up to Sirkin.
Ooh.
Because we talked about this, like, you walked into Haven's house and saw the picture of, you know, you and I talking in the garage. And, you know, I became that point person after that conversation. You know, you weren't going to Nan to ask questions. You were coming to me to ask questions. So I wonder if she would have been taken if she was your point person.
Yeah, you probably would have been taken.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, fucking Haven.
Because you remember that original note was addressed to Nan, but said basically, if you don't comply, then bad things will happen. And had a picture of you, Kit, in the note.
Yeah.
So I think that's exactly what or some harm would have come towards you as leverage. But Haven realized, it's like, oh, okay, so how do I motivate Sirkin to work faster?
Take the love of his life.
I don't know that Sirkin knows, or Haven knows that.
Oh, God. The Nan love.
Well, I guess the next merch is # Team Nan shirts.
Oh, it's got to. Is anybody not on Team Nan?
I love that bit played off exactly how I wanted to in the start of episode 2. As I start describing, I turn the corner and see this beautiful creature, and watching the replay, getting to watch your face as you're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
He's a child.
I was like, this is the second time playing with him. What is he doing? And I was like, the relief that I felt. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like,
speaking of random notes, from this is a note from our session. I'm going to cover this because it's something I haven't done yet. But it says, fall in love with Nan. That was on my to-do list.
oh, I'm going to share this. Sirkin idioms.
Oh boy, what's on that list?
I can't tell. Because they're all from the next episode.
I say a lot of things in a lot of different episodes. And I don't always think about what I'm saying until it's done.
So it's out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
speaking of notes, some question that you actually got, Josh, through Jerry Public Radio's community. Somebody had a question. What are notes that we've kept, but we don't know what they mean anymore? And I actually I'm surprised at myself how organized I am. Well, organized. It's like a slew of index cards. I've got a huge stack here because with this game, like anytime you enter in a new combat scenario, there's like scenario or situation aspects that I'm supposed to be throwing in, but I'm not great at that. So I'm using them more as note cards than anything, and quick NPCs. Most of these for me are like player cards real quick. Like I put the name, add some aspects, put some skills on them real quick. Oh, we haven't gotten there. But from the first 8 episodes, oh, that's from a Geek Out sesh. That's not this at all.
Those are notes still.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to pertain to this.
Actually,
probably should.
One note that I picked up from the chat during a Twitch stream was tower maintenance. Who maintains the tower? Because this isn't a floating city. This is literally held up by a structure underneath you. And how is that maintained?
Oh.
If nobody goes down to the planet level, at least none that we know of or is spoken of. So what if there's a problem in the tower? What happened?
Shit.
Jeez.
I never even considered that.
And then, of course, this one.
You're well prepared and well done in advance, Doodle.
Yeah.
It's a speech bubble world with strings.
It is, though.
That's terrific.
That is a Wayland's mask that he ordered from Tomas. Oh no, Truman. Tomas is somebody else.
I have a note that because I edit the music and cuts sometimes on videos.
God bless you.
And there was a note, and it was like, "Watch out for T," for last episode, and I was like, "Watch out for T," and there was no there was a time on it, and I went to the time, and there was nothing there, And it wasn't until we watched back Thursday's episode and he goes, "Who you looking good for?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot to edit that out." And I was like, "Oh my God, Boser, I'm so sorry." He's like, "No, it's fine."
So
But like getting a glimpse of because I won't lie, I have met none of these people in person.
Mm-mm.
And like getting a glimpse of y'all's lives, like just like you'll see a dog in the background, or you'll see a cat, or you'll hear T talk to Sky, or more tongue next time.
From
You'll hear footsteps above me as my kid is running through the living room. Just getting a glimpse of you guys' lives, because we don't know each other in person, is beautiful. I just want to say that. So
I like it.
I do too. Because when you said that on Thursday, I was like, he's right, because people don't know us really outside of like, our communities, or outside of like this game or a character that we're playing. So, I mean, getting to know like Josh talk about his child, like outside of like, the normalcy, just kind of brings it back to like, oh yeah, like we're more than just our characters. So,
We're seeing the doggy jump up on Lucas.
Yeah, he's out there.
Our Discord's gonna get my daughter in her flower girl dress from the wedding this past weekend as soon as I get those photos.
Aw.
Believe you me, she was adorable.
Oh goodness. Yeah, getting to know each other has, I think, because like I knew T and Boser going into this, but I didn't know you guys, and so getting to know you guys has been like, I won't lie, I say to Boser all the time, Saturday is my favorite day of the week, because I get to play with you guys. So
Because we record on Saturdays, but we air them on Thursdays, not to confuse anybody.
yeah, yeah. But it's become like one of my favorite things to do. So
Ditto.
Yeah, it's a
Big
nice
ditto.
it's a nice break from like work in the week, and you're like, I get to like wake up. Yeah, I can't sleep in, but I get to play with some amazing people.
Yeah.
And that's what geeking out is meant to do, right? Like I think the reason that all of our communities exist is because we all need that moment away from our real lives, just to escape and to lean into something that has no consequences. It's just fun. It's just the pure love of telling a story, or Stephen King, or just TTRPGs in general, and just like the geek culture. And that's why I love For Geeks by Geeks, because I get to kind of live in it all the time. Like my escape is anytime I scroll on our Instagram.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's a, like I said, it is an escape. Like you get to, but like I make choices in this game, but they don't really have consequences in my everyday life, and I get to be a whole different person. Like I know shit about cars. Like, but my character, she's a whiz, and it's just fun.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
Because in City of Mist, I was the fixer. I was the mechanic. I was the artificer, basically. And as soon as I first made that decision, I was like, shit, I don't know anything about machines. And so like trying to describe how I'm doing these and how I'm creating these machine creations, like I immediately got tongue-tied. So like, is that a problem for you? How are you navigating that? What would you say to somebody that's trying an artificer for the first time?
Especially in a make-up fantasy world, things don't have to be what they are. Like, we're playing with these newfangled cars. There might not even be anything really under the hood. There might just be, some wires and whatever. It doesn't have to be an actual car. So, make stuff up. Make stuff up. It's, sure, like my character was used to like doing real cars, like old cars, but like what's under the hood? It glows. You know what I mean? We talked about like how the undercarriage of a car glows like this hueish purple. And it runs on X. So it's a different world. And we're all making shit up as we go. Make more up. Like I don't know what else to say. Like, you guys don't know. You guys
Yeah.
don't know what's under the hood.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
sure don't know. I didn't make that part up yet
Yep. So
until somebody
like,
asks me.
the
on the
dingle
spot.
hopper goes next to the, the newfangled schmangle bangle. No one knows. It could be real. It could be fake.
It's totally real. Every car has
And
one of those.
I need you to replace my spangle bangle in my car.
Okay.
That's what the light pole crushed. Broke my spangle bangle in half.
And then if that didn't break, the fire broke everything.
Yeah. Well, you got to get
Everything.
rid of evidence. You know what? I'm glad. I'm glad my gun is safe. Man, I cannot wait for. However, the day Sirkin figures out who you are.
Sirkin doesn't remember. Oh no, because you were concussed.
I got rocked.
When you first met Alsvid, you never saw his face. You just heard his voice, and you said, "I make a mental note of his voice." And then the first time you come face to face, you just got rocked by Wayland, and so you rolled terribly. And
My narrative concussion that we just steered into.
Uh-huh.
My extras literally say switchblade, and then it says gun ?
Gun exclamation point.
Oh, jeez.
We wondered where my giant hand cannon revolver went. Now we know.
Yeah, I want to know from Alsvid, because you're such a pickpocket, and I know that in future episodes you might pickpocket some more. What's Alsvid's favorite thing that he's stolen from somebody in his time of being a rogue?
Well, stealing is bad, so I only acquire things.
Oh, okay.
The heart of Nan. That's what he's really after.
I'm
You've
working
got
on
her physical heart?
I'm working on it.
That's where
I'm
she
working
is.
on it. I have to meet her first. I do. Hey, I just want you to know, one of my stunts is Sly Guy. I'll throw that Riz on there. Well,
You're my age.
so
No, hey.
So. But do you have a...
have you ever had a sweet old black lady call you sugar?
It
It's
feels
a
real
wonderful
good.
feeling. All
It
right,
feels real good.
it feels real good.
I grew up in a church, y'all. It feels real good.
Ooh, what would probably be the?
I'm forcing backstory on you, I know.
I don't know if his favorite thing would have necessarily been pickpocketed.
Okay.
I would say probably maybe some things go missing while smuggling some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assume I may or may not have a collection of various items in a storage locker somewhere for safekeeping. I think, although the thing that Al uses the most, he probably snagged that board right out of the shop and just rode it right out of the shop.
The hoverboard?
Yes, sir.
Where did you get it?
It's called Zoomies. No, but it's not ZUM. It's literally ZOO.
Like when a dog gets excited?
Oh yeah.
I guarantee you, I'm just going to put this out there right now. The first time we see Al's home, apartment, wherever he lives, this fate point is filling it with Hummel figurines. That is... that is that is his secret when he steals things from smuggling. They're like little Cupid figurines that line his whole house.
I'm getting the collection, man.
Yeah,
Save it.
they're
You
old
spend
world
that-
artifacts.
Look, it's like in Fallout. I'm picking up all the Vault Boys.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, Jesus.
Can
Yeah.
I because this is a conversation that was just between Boser and Lucas, because Al wasn't in episode 2, we had the to settle the pickpocket scenario, how did you guys land on leaving the note that was left, the stealing my gun? What was that conversation?
So we were talking, and I remember I was like, no, I'm thoroughly chilled like that. I was like, I'm not he goes, would you confront, like, would you wait for him? I was like, no, I'm not taking the car either. It's too much, it's too big, you're gonna notice, someone will find it. I was like, but I can't say I wouldn't look through it.
And I don't remember, did you tell me to leave the note, or did I just add that?
I think we discussed it. I don't remember if I said, I didn't say anything like pertinent to the note. I was like, but I would probably leave something to let him know that like the key is there.
Mm-hmm.
But some homeless guys got your money clip.
Like, you wanted him to know that the person that he had been pickpocketed, and you were the one that left it for him.
Yeah, it's not by chance. I was atoning for some sins there, without pain.
So what did Sirkin think when he saw that note? Like, realizing only moments before that you had been pickpocketed at all.
Yeah, right.
And then seeing the stolen keys on your front seat with that note. What went through Sirkin's mind?
If I remember right, that was one of another opportunity that I took to make a mental note of respecting the power it took to pull something like this off, but then also remembering that it will have to be paid for eventually. So it actually, like, unbeknownst, like, that mental note is, I want to find who did this because I want to save him and befriend him. Like, it's kind of like the relationship I have with Wayland, where because he was the first person that I created a brand new person, I was so attached to him, and like, I wanted to keep him, and I was so sad that he was destroyed.
I wanted to keep him.
Yeah. I am slowly turning into Sid from Toy Story, as I say it. I'm
Are
starting to
you
hear it
collecting
now.
us as figures?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. One thing
when the new order is established and the world becomes truly at peace, people like us will be needed to make that world happen.
Well,
Confirm, we're all just tools in your plot to take over the government.
Oh yeah, he and I spoke about this months ago. But one thing that I just remembered that never came back was you wanted to know every piece of glass that broke through the window and who it fell on.
I still want to know, because that punishment has still not come to roost yet. Liana is still carrying, or Liliana. God, Liana still carries that guilt, and
okay, so I wonder why. Like, what kind of creepy thing you wanted from that?
12 lashings.
Okay, so for every person that fell on, you want to repay that to Liana.
For every cut from glass, she will have that same amount of cuts. She will carry the burden.
Jesus. So what do you think you're gonna do when you see her again? If you see her again.
Do you want me to tell you exactly what I have planned? Because I'll tell you.
He's gonna.
No, I don't. I don't know.
His DMs are open.
I would like to sleep tonight.
I'd like to remind you that I swept up all that broken glass from Kit's garage, and it's in a bag.
I remembered that you last episode you used to cut, and I was like, where did he get that glass from? And I thought it was from that moment, but no, it was swept up from the garage.
Yeah, I've been waiting. Theo promised me I could have a conversation with her, and he denied me that conversation. So that's also a thing that Theo and Sirkin will have to deal with at a later date.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, one last question before we get to some rapid fire audience questions.
Okay.
Where's Nan?
I was half confident that there would be a standoff at Havens. I was when I went in the room into the darkness. I laid out like a taunting line to see if I could bait something, because I half expected open the door completely black and a shot from the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going in anticipating. So
But
now
instead
that's
you found an empty apartment,
and that made me so mad that I destroyed the apartment. So now, man, I got no idea.
All right, you want to hear my weird... Okay, so last episode, Theo called Tomas. Was it Tomas?
Tomas from the forensics. Yeah.
And he said that the prince had come back for Nan, that she had done something however many years ago. So Nan's in on it, and Nan's BFFs with Kieran. And she's doing some shady stuff, and that's why my dad's involved. Or Kieran kidnapped her because of this past that she had, and it's gonna come to light. That's just my weird, because I've watched episode 8. I've lived it, and then I've watched it twice now. So, I just want to let you guys know I watch it basically about 3 times in its entirety. So I pick up on a lot of stuff, and that was the first time that I was like, oh, because there was a hit on her prince, and I was like, I don't know if Boser would have mentioned that if it wasn't relevant information. So
we did see the way she handled the gun in episode 2.
And that's another marker that she handled, that she was like, here you go. And I was like, okay. And then she handed me that small gun as well. So those are some markers that I'm like, these are sides to Nan that I've never seen before. So she could have a hand in it, or they wanted her for something, or you never know.
Which is actually a question that Farrells has, is Nan the BBEG?
Confirm or deny right now.
Date point. Nan is
She's
not
the
a-
BBEG of your heart.
That's right. Al, do you have any theories on where you think Nan might be?
Who?
Al. Oh, yeah. Okay, Lucas.
I've gone into this whole campaign just thinking there are, like, we're on this tower, and I'm telling you, there's lower floors. There's something, like, I guarantee you there's something underneath there. And if Nan is innocent, and if shady people want to do shady stuff, I can't imagine a better place to hide than in the clouds.
In the clouds. Like, below cloud level?
Yeah,
in the
like,
tower, or like in the physical clouds?
well, in a tower, in a floating whatever, something. I just ever since we first, like, even started planning this, I was like, there's gotta be, it can't be just a simple, like, set of spires all around the world. I said people would find a way to do shady stuff off premises where no one can see. They're Area 51, if you will. It's been something that's been stuck in my head for this entire time. And I'm like, that would be the perfect place to really do some crazy experiments you don't want anyone to see. So if this is because you mentioned tower maintenance, and I was like, oh yeah, I almost forgot about all that, because no one's going down there. No one is, but someone is.
Well, imagine, because we see this as a tower and then the city up there. What if it's a cup and saucer scenario where we're the cup, and then below cloud level, but not all the way on the surface, there's like a whole area that, because there's other cities, so people travel. So the fact that it's below cloud level means that even if people are traveling, they would never see anything but that one tower.
Because a little bit of like character recreation stuff. I sat there and I wanted, before we settled on storage rooms throughout like the city that I have to smuggle stuff around, as I was like, hey, would it be possible to have just like a skiff that sends me over to, like, I had my own little, because that was my little creation. I was like, if I'm gonna smuggle stuff, I gotta stay out of sight, out of mind. Something like that would be cool. And he's like, no, I don't think we're gonna do anything like that. And I was like, I feel like there's something planned there.
And now that you mention it now, I'm like, maybe. I'm not against some personal aircraft, like short distance. Because again, back to that very first iteration of Cloudscape, in like this weird anime sense that I had it was that redhead girl, but she had like a glider. And before I came up with the cloud turbines that kind of brought the clouds in mass, keeping them below the city, but also harvesting them within the tower themselves, I was like, yeah, it's like farmers. Like they glide through the clouds, collect the essence of whatever it is, and harvest it back. That kind of felt away, but I don't know, the idea of a glider, not opposed.
We know there's some tall buildings.
There are some tall buildings. All right, let's hit you with some quick questions from the audience. We've been adding them throughout today, but the ones that we didn't get to, I want to make sure we do. From Ocean Star, from our Discord, will Nan get her own spin-off series?
It'd just be Boser.
Can we
Just
I love
me.
DM interactions, NPC interactions with other NPCs. So you just got to talk to yourself while we listen.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
There's going to
All
be one week when nobody's available, but I've got nothing to do, that I'm just going to roleplay where Nan is right now.
You could do like behind the scenes backstory stuff.
It's Boser with the phone. Hey, it's Nan. I'm in Haven's dungeon.
Live streaming from Haven's dungeon.
I'll dress up and everything.
Right. Oh my god, that'd be so funny.
It's Nan.
I have a pitch.
Yeah.
For the Nan spin-off
Go.
series.
Okay.
Go.
Are you familiar with the game Brindlewood Bay?
No.
Okay, so because we're my show's a Stephen King show, we were looking for like Stephen King-esque things to play. So in the previous RPGs we've done Kids on Bikes, which is a very like it-centric.
For
we
sure.
did Girl Underground, which is like that fantasy like talisman stuff. And then we were playtesting Brindlewood Bay for
The one
like
with the old ladies.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's about a group of old ladies that live in a small town that solve crimes. Like they're just the police know them. Like that's all part of like the canon of starting your game. Is before you even start, you are all members of this reading group because you love this author who writes these mysteries, and so you're a book club that reads these, and everybody has to be like over 80, I think, like over 70 or 80 for your character, and it's all and
That's awesome.
there are mechanics for solving the mystery because it's very rules light as far as what clues exist, and you solve it by there's no pre-written solution. Based on the evidence, you make a roll and do it Murder, She Wrote style, where you say how it happened, and that's how it happened.
Cool.
And the more games you get into it, you start kind of unlocking occult things, and so it turns into these old ladies in a like Cthulhu style town solving crimes. So that's the Nan spinoff, where
I
you
love
play Nan, and then we'll all play other old ladies in the city. And
Honestly,
we'll be
it's a one shot. Yeah.
it's a one shot. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. All right. Next question from who is it? We already talked about some of these. Another quick one from Farles. How fun is it to flirt with T? It's the best.
You should. At the wedding, it was great.
Yeah. And do you guys think that I just do that for camera? No, I'm like hitting him up all the time. Like, hey baby, how are you?
I love Brit calling him out for love bombing Molly. That was terrific. It made me so happy.
And he was like, "What are you talking about? This is how I express love as a person."
Such solid Theo. Just like, what? That's not bad. It's just...
One more from Ocean. If I said no to your character, if I said no, that's stupid. Don't do that. What would be another character that, or what was like your backup plan, or did you have a first draft that eventually led into what your character is?
Nope. Kit was it.
Basically, if you had to play another character, somebody
Oh.
else, what would it be? Now that you know a little bit more of the world.
I think I would have been part of the Knights of Axiom.
Nice.
I think I would have been a rebel.
From the very beginning.
Convenient.
Had I known that existed, I would have belonged to it. I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I root for the rebels. So I think that would have been the route. I would have gone like maybe Leona? Liliana?
Liana.
Liana.
Mhm.
I would have been like either BFFs with her or her herself.
Oh.
I feel like that's the type of person I would be.
Is Kid as much of a Rebel fan as you are?
Not currently.
She's beginning of Empire right now, right? She's gonna hit Rebel 1 here pretty soon.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. What about
That's
you two?
So I already have a backup character because it's something I learned. I've always done with D&D. If I play a character that is high violence, you meet a violent end. Like that's how violent characters can't not have violent ends. And so I always like have my next kind of idea ready to go. I do have one idea that is a little more in the realm of the experimental magic we're kind of delving into. But if I couldn't have made Sirkin, but I know what I know now about the world, I would have been somebody who works for the underground fighting ring. That's what I feel like I would have done a more like, because in my background I was a burlesque host for 10 years, so I probably would have done like an MC kind of a character,
Sure.
and like let that be how I came into this. That would have been my other idea, I think.
That'd have been cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just stealing all these characters so you can't.
No, then if I die, how will I play?
See, the very first draft, before like when we're starting the conversations with like X and stuff like that, Al was gonna be an X user and kind of he would smuggle by basically if you play Apex Legends, there's a character that can kind of create little portals and or like phase a lot momentarily. And I would have used X to basically just like phase in and out of places to move around and jump around. But then I decided to kick the X habit, and I wanted to play kind of just a normal person that's interacting with this stuff but is terrified to use it. But if I couldn't play Al, I ironically I was gonna go back to my roots, and I was gonna be an enforcer of some type. So essentially, I would have played Waylon. But I was like, oh well, we have that already. Let me just go adjacent. Let me do.
I think it's kind of funny that none of us really use X except for Sirkin.
Yeah.
Sirkin is the walking addict of the party for sure.
Like that was the offer up. Like I don't think I even thought twice about it. Like that
Really?
I wouldn't use it. Yeah, I was like, that's I think it's just because that's my character. And I don't think had I played a different character, I would have done it as well.
That's interesting, because the whole
I love that.
point of my bringing X into it was like I wanted a kind of a, I don't know, a real life place, but having basically magic as an option.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so funny that none of you, except for you, Sirkin, you want to use the magic that's available. But that doesn't mean that the NPCs around you aren't using it to their advantage.
And I think that
Marshall
goes back
name.
to you saying it's like magic. I think it's because I didn't want a character that did magic.
Sure, yeah, you're getting away from the casters.
Uh-huh.
Marshall Maine.
Interesting.
What I also like about that is the fact that, because we're building this new world, the fact that any character can be so adamant that I will never do it gives us the idea that that means that's a consent, that at least a group of the population has that consensus, because you have no shame about saying it, which means it's a semi-popular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that eventually, I'm sure we'll see a little bit more of that. I decided specifically to go into X beforehand because we had in our like session 0, I think we were talking about how it has different effects based on the user. And I just thought, with my archetype of being an interrogator, what a fun idea to just give me like, it makes me a lie detector. That seems simple, and I like playing. I wanted to make Sirkin an addict, so I also liked the idea of having a piece of him it's chemically relied upon.
Mhm.
Or like his gambling, like
Mm-hmm.
it's his overconfidence makes him unable to see those things as flaws.
Makes him squishy, like we
Yeah.
talked about. Makes
Mhm.
him squishy.
Yep.
I think with like seeing how I don't. This is not saying that Kit's necessarily going to do it later, but I think that's with each character. Like there is a chance that a character that swore it off or said that they weren't or they didn't is not necessarily going to do that the entire time. Like our characters are constantly evolving.
Mhm.
What's on the table now might change as we continue to ebb and flow with these characters. So I'm not saying that it's like I'm never doing it. It's not. Who knows what Kit's going to be up against? We talked about the psychotic whatever lady.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might eventually choose when we go up to fight her that's what we choose to do. Who knows what's going to happen? So swearing it off now doesn't necessarily mean we're swearing it off forever. So.
And I guess all of you at home will just have to keep tuning in to find out what happens. Last question from John Art Geek, Instagram. What's your character's coffee order? If you went to Starbucks, if Starbucks existed, which it doesn't in Aurora, but if they were to enter a Starbucks today, what are you ordering?
Sirkin drinks plain black coffee, and not
Knew it.
not because it's so obvious a choice, but because if anybody put anything in it, he'd be able to recognize the flavor immediately. It's a survival strat. He doesn't want to drink it black. He hates it black, but he will always drink it black, so he knows if something's in it.
That's interesting.
Kit's order at the Hammered Glass was black coffee.
It was.
Yeah.
But the only reason she drinks black coffee is because caffeine is a just stimulant for her. Like she drinks it to be able to function.
Mm-hmm.
But if she was to go into a Starbucks, it'd probably be like some blended pink fruity sugary drink.
Yeah, a pink drink. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be some blended with whipped cream in a large straw, and you know what I mean. It'd be some frilly TikTok thingy.
I just love the idea of like Kit brooding, trying to be as grown up as possible, and then leaving with this big fluffy pink drink.
Can I have a grande double blended with extra strawberries, whipped cream on top?
What's better is when we have that scene, and then you see that she has a second one and holds it to Sirkin, who also drinks the pink frilly drink.
Them both sitting on a curb.
I need that art. Austin! I need that as chibi art.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Kit teaching Sirkin about drinking things that aren't safe.
Taste
Al.
the flavor.
Al, what are you
Um,
drinking?
I don't know if Al would be a coffee drinker. I myself am not really much of a coffee drinker. I am a big energy drink person. Like I have 2 cases of Monsters. I have all the absolute zeros, every flavor they have, basically in my living room right now. Because caffeine is what it got that point where you just probably have like 2 or 3 of these and not really feel too much because he's so just dead into the caffeine.
We need to add it to lore. We need an energy drink. An Aurora.
It's got like a light form of X in it, like
Uh-huh.
a derivative of X in it.
Need
So it's not-
energy
It's
drink.
filtered through X or so. There's some
Extreme
process where X
energy.
touches it.
Yeah, it's some outlandish like big like anime fucking drink.
Extreme energy.
Of course. Extreme. Got it. Noted. Added.
It's cocaine.
Canon. It's just
The original formula.
ugh, but I am so excited at where we are after 8 episodes. It's in some ways exactly where I was hoping we might be, and in other ways having no idea. And none of us could have known that because the dice played such a big hand in it. But
I want to say,
yeah.
so the rest of us have been players before. Like this is like it's nothing new to be a player, but this is your first time being a DM, and you are doing a great job. Thank you for
Yes.
taking us on this epic journey because like we help write
Well
this
deserved.
story, but like you bring it to the table,
Mhm.
and I don't feel thus far I've ever been disappointed on what you've brought.
That means so much, actually.
Oh yeah,
so-
especially like coming from someone who watched you first get introduced to D&D
You were my very first
And-
campaign. I was trying.
and to like help you through the struggles of like understanding how things are made in D&D and whatnot,
Mhm.
to playing City of Mist and you getting more and more comfortable and more it's just been a pleasure the past few years to watch you just grow and like really dive into this stuff.
Oh, thanks. I love it. It's like my new favorite thing on the
Because
planet.
I've seen you play some weird characters, like Flador. I've seen you play some really weird characters.
Flador.
Yeah, because I've only played one shots with Boser. Like we've played Monster of the Week, and we've also played. We did a D&D, but it was based off of. Yes.
That's amazing.
I designed that, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah.
But we've done Monster of the Week, and then we've done a D&D, but it was based off a Cantini. So those are the 2 things that I've played with Boser. But seeing him as a DM has brought him into a different light of just his flexibility and his just, so snaps for Boser, because You're
It's
doing a
not
great
it's
job.
not easy. It's not
No,
an easy thing to
for
do.
sure.
But I
because
think to be a
players
better-
make it hard.
yes. What's its name? What's the address? Where's the map? Like the things we throw at you, and I feel like to be a better player, you need to be a DM.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This does make me appreciate like T and Jeff Sitz and Thomas, Simba, and so much more than I did previously. And I appreciated the hell out of them already. But thank you. On that note, before I get so uncomfortable I shrivel up and die, we're going to end it there. If you haven't yet caught up on Cloudscape, now's your chance. You only got eight episodes in. They're only 2 hours-ish, hour and a half, 2 hours long. We try to keep them short. You can cut it up, halfway points, do whatever.
There's only 8 episodes. You only have to spend a week and a day catching up.
Yeah, one a day while you're driving around, mowing the lawn.
Mhm.
Now's your chance. Because I have a feeling that this next set of episodes of the future of the Cloudscape is just going to get absolute batshit.
Psst, we know what happened.
Thank you guys for joining me for this skydive into Cloudscape. And hopefully in the next skydive, we can maybe swap it out or have the full table. I don't know. We'll see who's available. But until next time, I am Boser.
I'm Brit.
Oh God, there's not enough.
I guess I'll go on Lucas.
I'm Josh.
And you just keep eking out.
Eking out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.